So one of the other branches that we'll talk about is white's response to black coming under like this. By going here, white will do this to put pressure on black, but it allows black to keep his group together and make life in the corner. If white wants to be more aggressive, though, he can go ahead and attach directly to the black stone here. And as we'll see, the advantage of this move, in addition to just being a more aggressive style, which might suit you better, is that in the end it is going to end up splitting black into two groups, and we'll see how that develops.
Yeah. Yeah, white has the option here to hane later, which will be very important. So this is a more aggressive move for white, so black has two options. The first option is to play underneath to take territory, but early in the game this is considered inferior, and we're not going to go through, this is the way the Joseki goes, but we're not going to explain all these moves because it is inferior. We'll just show you the end result. So this is pretty much the end, and you see that black gets a few points in the corner or on the side, but he's sealed in, and white gets a big wall facing his own stone. Later on, black can hane, it's true, but he doesn't get much for it, and you can effectively consider black to be sealed in. So unless black later on in the game has control of this area right here and doesn't need to worry about white's thickness, then white or black wouldn't want to play this way. The only time black would want to play this way is if this area is finished in black's favor.
Right. It'd be inferior otherwise.
So backing up, black doesn't hane underneath, and instead he will hane on the top.
So white needs to just simply extend here. He does this for the sake of liberties. Otherwise, he can get a target. He can have a fight, problems running into the side there. This also keeps white from getting sealed in, so he makes a strong shape there.
Yep. Black then creates a hane at the head of two stones. And this is interesting, especially for new players, because you notice that this move is not a hane. The hane is effectively just part of the shape. So it does the same thing, however. So whenever you can create a shape that's bad for your opponent, try to do that. And the hane at the head of two stones is probably one of the most fundamental positions that you learn when you're starting Go. It takes control of your opponent's stones and kind of forces them, it allows you to force them around and direct their movement. In this case, while this is still the correct move, white has a nice follow-up, however, because of the 4/4 stone.
So white can go ahead and play here underneath. This gets him a little bit more eye space, but really it's sente, because if black doesn't respond, then white can Atari this stone and link up all of these stones together then. So, like that. This would kill that. White would get a big corner. He'd be connected. That's too... even these 4 black stones look kind of lonely. So black has to respond to that.
Right. So, because black has to respond, black will extend. And black can go ahead and play here, but it's a little mild. There's still options to cut this stone off later. This is the strongest move, and it's the Joseki move. It puts the most pressure on each individual group and connects most solidly to the knight's move.
So now with all of these black stones putting pressure on white here, white needs to make a little room to live, a little bit of room to not be sealed in. He can go ahead and afford to jump out one. That'll be okay in this situation for him, but he needs to do something to look to his own safety here.
Black can play this move in sente, because if white doesn't respond to it, he's able to push through and cut him to ribbons. He can do it. He can do a number of things here. He can play either way.
There's too many cutting points.
Too many cutting points. So white needs to respond to that.
So the way white will respond actually is to come out here. Again, the same reason as the last move. Really, it gets more eye space, gets more potential for escaping and getting out to the center. And this problem, when you read it out, or this extension, when you read it out, takes care of that potential thrust.
Yep. And that brings the Joseki to a conclusion. And so this ends. We can evaluate from here. There's a little bit more we want to talk about afterwards, but we can evaluate from here. So what does white get?
So white gets probably maybe 8 points here. And he still has some influence here. These stones are still pretty light and flexible, and they're still sort of facing the right direction. So he has some potential as well.
Yeah. Black gets a little bit of influence towards the center, and most importantly, he gets Sente, which allows him to play a big move elsewhere. This would be a likely move.
But you said, or I said,
One
of us said that we would cut Black's group into two.
Yes.
So what happens if that happens?
That's an excellent question.
Thank you.
We don't know the answer to that fully because we're terrible at Go, as we said at the intro.
Yeah.
However, as far as we understand, it's not terrible for Black because Black can still take the 3/3 point. So after this cut, and White has now separated Black's group, this group needs to find life. So it finds eye shape here. And by playing the 3/3, Black just barely lives.
Right. So there are a couple of interesting things to look at in this situation. Kind of like what you talked about with the Hane at the head of two stones, how you sort of see the shape afterwards. If White goes here, this now with this, and these, it looks almost like previously White had played a peep and Black didn't connect against it, and White pushed through. So now there's a couple of cutting points here that Black has to deal with.
Yeah. Black can't go ahead and push here.
Right. Even though it Atari's that stone, Black gets to go here and put these three in Atari.
And even though Black gets to eat this stone, he gives up these two, which is too big.
Right.
It's too important.
Right. And then White will end up getting the whole corner. So Black can't push that way.
So instead, Black needs to connect on the other side.
Right. And then I believe the next thing we figured out was White can go ahead, and this is also Sente for the same reason. He's threatening to.
Here. So Black needs to extend. And
Right.
this is what we mean by Black just barely survives. Because this shape here is Mii, which means Black has two options to live. He can play here to get an extra more eye space, or if White plays there first, he can cut and take this stone.
Right, and then White will just come down, but he'll take it. So, and then White can go ahead and do something like probably I think we figured out that would be best. So now it puts a lot of pressure on these three stones. It gives him a lot more influence that way, and even this push is not really.
It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything. Not the end of the world.
Black needs to worry about the life of his three stones, so he makes good shape. Shape is very important. If you want to be free from concern about your groups, make your groups have good shape, and this is a classic good shape. Then, however, also we notice that this is putting a very little bit of pressure on surrounding this group. If Black gets a group in here now,
It's helping to balance the pressure, sort of.
yeah, White would be concerned. So White finishes the whole thing, the whole extended Joseki, with yet another move.
Which would be
Somewhere around there.
something like that.
So this ends the extended portion of the Joseki, and we see that while at the beginning it might not have seemed very fair, we can see that Black gets a living group in the corner, Black gets a group with good shape towards the center, and Black got this move for free.
And Black gets another move now.
And Black gets another move, yeah, it's true. So Black could play here or double approach. What did White get?
So White is alive here, probably. more than likely, and
Took away
alive
territory.
with eight at least, and maybe if he gets a little bit, 10, 12 points of territory, he'll get a little bit of territory here. But he's got plenty of influence, plenty of potential to grow, and now his stones are all working kind of nicely together over there on that side.
And he's kind of got a group to attack.
Right.
Which could mean
more profit
later.
Yeah.
So I think that this is a really interesting Joseki overall for fighting reasons. If White wants to learn how to fight better, play this Joseki.
Which is what we said from the beginning. It's aggressive when you attack like that.
Exactly.
So there you go.